Endeavour Silver, we're a mid-tier silver producer. We'll produce 8 million silver equivalent ounces in 2022. We did revise our guidance upwards about 3 months ago. We're going to release our quarterly results here for Q3 next week. Ultimately expect to be at the front end or high end of our guidance range. We produce silver and gold. 60% of our revenue comes from silver, 40% comes from gold. So we are a precious metals producer. And we'd effectively built this company through two operations, the Guanacevi mine and the Bolanitos mine. Both were fully built, fully permitted assets that were underexplored, and we purchased them back in 2004 and 2007 respectively. Neither assets ever had more than a 2 to 3 year reserve life. They are what I would call mature assets at this point. We sit right in the middle point effectively of the cost curve from an all-in sustaining cost. Our all-in sustaining cost for the first half of the year was about $20 per ounce of silver. One of those mines is very positive free cash flow. And another one, Bolanitos, is effectively break even at this point. But the whole story that we've been out telling our shareholders and to build liquidity is effectively we have a project coming called the Terronera mine. It's going to effectively double our production and cut our cost profile in half. So when I say cut our cost profile in half, effectively Terronera's all-in sustaining cost at today's prices is below $3 per ounce of silver. On a cash cost basis, it's effectively break even. The gold pays for all the silver. I touched on our year-to-date production. We did revise guidance upwards. We are continuing to push Terronera forward to a development decision. We've done a lot of early works in the first half of the year. We've committed $41 million through October 31st, and we've almost spent that $41 million. And we've committed an additional $28 million towards POs for the plant. So we are pushing forward fast there. We are finalizing a project loan financing, hopefully over the next two to 3 months, to ultimately have that development decision with all the cash in place. Our balance sheet's in great shape. We had $155 million of working capital at the end of Q2, $115 million in cash. So we're just waiting for that debt component for Terronera. We did complete an acquisition of the Terronera project here in Q3. It was $70 million, $35 million in cash, $35 million in shares. And we continue to put out great drill results at our operating mine, Guanacevi, and at Parral as well. The discoveries at Guanacevi has completely extended that mine life. Like I say, we've never had more than 2 to 3 years of reserve life here at Guanacevi, and we've always continued to add reserves as we've mined them. Here, over the last kind of 2 years since we've had control of the El Curso mine, we've continued to put out great drill results, and that's continued this year. And now we're also drilling an area called Porvenir Dos. So a very positive story at Guanacevi. The Terronera project, like I say, this is our story. This is the growth of Endeavour. We put out about 6 different resource reports and pre-feasibility studies and a feasibility study in 2021. We've invested almost $30 million from an exploration standpoint to date, but ultimately we have a build cost of $175 million. And as I say, it's going to double our production and cut our cost profile in half. It is going to produce over 12 years. So we have a 12-year reserve life here at Terronera, and it'll produce on average over those 12 years 6 million silver equivalent ounces per year. It's got favorable economics, $175 million capex. But again, it comes down to where it sits on the cost curve amongst our peer group. In the lowest decile from an all-in sustaining cost standpoint and lowest quartile from a cash cost standpoint. So a big change and game changer effectively coming for our company. You can see on this slide here, we front-end load production. That production at the front end with the higher gold comes from a little adjacent vein called La Luz. It's a high-grade gold vein. It's about 12 grams per ton. It is open along strike and to depth. And 90% of the deposit comes from the Terronera vein. Again, there's an envelope around what you see there. So there's about another 3 years of inferred resources that weren't determined to be M&I in our feasibility study. And you can see some of the highest grade materials down below. This is also open along strike and to depth. So no different than at Guanacevi and Bolanitos, where we've never had more than a 2 to 3 year reserve life. And now we've been there 17 and 16 years. Ultimately here at Terronera, we have a 12-year reserve life determined, but we'll be here 20, 25 years before it's all said and done. including along strike and to depth. We do control almost 20,000 hectares in the area with over 25 concessions. We've mapped and sampled close to 50 known veins. Last year in 2021, we drilled out 5 additional veins. With those veins, we've had grades north of a kilogram silver equivalent, ultimately silver and gold. The widths are a little bit smaller than Terronera. Terronera's widths are about 5.5 meters thick. These veins that we've drilled out is about 1 meter to 2 meters in thickness, but ultimately we're not trying to build scale anymore at Terronera because of the terrain. We're kind of capped at basically between the 1,700 tons per day and 2,000 tons per day. So it's just about extending mine life and showing our shareholders that we're going to be here for ultimately 20, 25 years. It is a 2-year build period. We do touch on Don Gray as our COO. He joined us from Continental Gold when they built the Barraquita mine. Prior to that, he was in Guatemala building the Escobal mine for Tahoe Resources, and now sits in Pan American's portfolio. Our team's up to about 60 people, and it is a 2-year build process for Terronera. So ultimately, we expect Terronera to take 2 years to build. Doubles our production, takes us to about 14, 15 million ounces of silver, cuts our cost profile in half. But our goal is to effectively become a senior silver producer. And this year, we purchased the Pitarrilla project. Pitarrilla is one of the world's largest undeveloped silver projects. You can see on this slide that Endeavour, between 4 properties, Terronera, Guanacevi, Bolanitos, and another exploration property called Parral, we have about 235 million ounces defined in the ground. The Pitarrilla project defined 525 million ounces of M&I dating back to 2012. It is historical. After acquiring Pitarrilla, we are trying to make that a current resource. So we are effectively verifying all the work that SSR has done, which has gone very well, and we expect to have a report out before the end of the year. The Pitarrilla project, obviously, is a big opportunity for Endeavour. The reason it came into our hands is SSR, who made the discovery in 2002. They put a 2009 pre-feasibility study out on an underground operation at $11 silver. Very favorable economics, filed on CDAR. Price of silver went from $8 to $48. Ultimately, they put out a feasibility study on an open pit concept. Took capital costs from basically $280 million to $800 million, but NAV also grew like that. And then obviously silver price came down from $48, languished. They relooked at the underground operation in 2018, merged with a company called Alacer, really became a gold company with purchases in Nevada and Saskatchewan. And ultimately SSR with the Alacer management group had to rationalize their portfolio. Pitarrilla didn't make sense for them, and it made a lot of sense for us. It was a competitive process, and ultimately we think we can push this through. And as Terronera gets developed and complete it, hopefully we can move to Pitarrilla. And if we can't move to Pitarrilla, we have another project called Parral. And it's nice to have a little optionality here. Pitarrilla would be a lot bigger scale. Parral is a project we actually acquired in 2016. Through 2019, we defined 43 million ounces of silver. Had to shut the drill rigs off just because we couldn't get drillers in country until end of 2021. We've put out drill results, 2 different news releases over the last kind of 18 months with better grades and better thicknesses than what we've previously had. So we're trying to grow Parral to about 65 million ounces of silver, and then we'll put an economic study on this. And it gives us a really nice fork in the road. If the silver market is going, and we can probably go a Pitarrilla way. If it's not, and we're kind of languishing where we're at, we can go Parral way. But it gives us runway to how we get to 20 million ounce silver equivalent production per year. That's our story. We do have what we think is the leading organic growth strategy in our sector. And ultimately, from a capital structure standpoint, I said our balance sheet's in great shape. We have about 190 million shares outstanding. We do trade on the TSX and New York Stock Exchange. We probably have the best leverage to silver amongst our peer group. As I say, 60% of our production comes from silver, 40% comes from gold. So we are precious metals. But the other names that you see under that beta to silver have picked up gold assets over the last 5 years. And most of those companies now produce less than 40% of their silver silver revenue comes from silver. And ultimately, with the projects that we have, Terronera is 60% silver, 40% gold. Pitarrilla and Parral are predominantly silver as well. So we will maintain that leverage of silver as we grow this company.
Thank you very much, Dan. And of course, anyone interested, catch you at your booth.
Yes, thank you.